YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back, and I got another tier maker video. These seem to be pretty popular, and I came across this one, NFL defenses. Didn't see an offense one, but everyone's more interested in the defense these days. And so, based off the upcoming season, I'm kind of predicting the upcoming season here for this one. I'm going to place these every single team into tiers. So this should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to seeing your guys' comments. We can do more of these if you want to leave suggestions, but we got plenty other regular prediction videos on the channel and more to come. This weekend, actually getting the other Goat House guys together, and we're going to start working on their division predictions and then eventually playoff Super Bowl predictions. So we're getting that all together. A lot to come here at the Goat House. Subscriber goal is at 20K. We're getting real close, almost 19K now. Thanks for the support out there. There's our Twitter. Answer any questions on there. We have polls all the time too. And clicking the like button would be much appreciated. But let's get on to it. We got great, very good, above average, average, below average, bad. So a lot of tiers here for this one. I didn't want to go with an elite category. I don't know if elite's a strong word. I don't know if I view any defense for this year as elite. We see these offenses getting better and better every single year. And I think there was an elite defense last year with the Bears, and then you could argue the Ravens, the year before, maybe the Jaguars and the Vikings. But it's tough to see, those elite defenses with these offenses today. So, but great is pretty much, it's close enough there. So, didn't do this beforehand, but I already have in mind who are the great. Let's just go in order here. Let's start with the Jags. It's a tough one to start with because last year, they struggled a little bit. Year before, like I said, I consider them elite. I think they may have the best corner duo. They got a really good pass rush group now, especially with Josh Allen. The linebacker unit and the safety unit is where, maybe it's not as good as it once was. And a little bit of the struggles kind of stick with me from last year. But again, they can kind of go back to where they were 2 years ago. Really looking forward to seeing Josh Allen in there. I'm going to go with very good. They're pretty close to being great. But again, I think there's some holes I see there. Linebacker unit. Miles Jack really needs to step up. His game was off last year. And now Talvin Smith stepping away for a year. That's unfortunate. But I guess their pass rush got a little better with Josh Allen. And, the secondary, again, I think holes at the safe, not holes, but they could get better at the safety position. The Giants, they're in that rebuild mode. I like what they got for the future. Their defensive line's pretty solid. Dexter Lawrence should be one to look out for the future and can play right away, stop the run right away. Linebacker unit, it's going to struggle a little bit. I like the potential of Lorenzo Carter, but that linebacker unit should struggle. Not too much pass rush coming from there. And they get Zimenez for the future. The secondary could struggle too. I like the future for the corners, Julian Love and DeAndre Baker. I just think there's just some holes and a lot of struggle early on in the career. I think that's a bad defense, unfortunately. I think they're heading in the right direction. People bash Gettleman, but I think you got the right pieces for the future there. The Titans are next. Titans are an interesting one. Last year you look at what they did. They were pretty quiet, good defense, like really good defense. They stopped teams, they slowed them down, and that was without getting sacks really, which we know is pretty important. They got pressure, which is the most important, but they did what they did without getting actual sacks compared to some of the other defenses that were up there with them. And now, Harold Landry in his second year, they add some other guys, Vrabel's in another year, Dean Pease in another year. So I think the Titans get a little more sacks here. I think they're a very good defense. Pretty fun to watch, pretty balanced. I can't really spout out any holes in that defense. So very good. For the Texans, another AFC South team. This one's tough. They are tough. J.J. Watt's not getting any better. That's no secret. He's still a pretty, I don't know if I want to say dominant. Yeah, he was pretty dominant at times last year. Just sometimes he disappears now. Still a really good player. Jadeveon Clowney, to me, is their best defensive player. And I thought that showed consistently throughout the year last year. J.J. Watt would be in games here and there, but Clowney he's all over the place at all times. But, the linebacker unit's pretty solid. They don't have really much pass rush besides Clowney and Watt, though. They don't really have much with Watt in the defensive line. The secondary really struggled in the tackling department last year, and I think it actually took a hit. I like the addition of Bradley Roby. there's just too many holes for me. I think Clowney and J.J. Watt pick up the slack, but there's a lot of holes. I'm going to put them at average, considering them above average, though, too. It's right in between there. The Cowboys. I like the Cowboys very good. You could argue they're great. I think they're pretty fitting at the very good spot. They get some good pressure, but it all really comes from DeMarcus Lawrence. They need some other guys to step up. Robert Quinn hasn't really been himself the last few years, but can do it. Taco Charlton, can he be that guy they expected him to? Maybe they're having some doubts bringing in Robert Quinn, but you can never have enough pass rushers. Interior D-line, solid. Nothing crazy. Linebackers I like. I love their linebackers. Jalen Smith's getting better and better. Van Der Esch was only a rookie last year. I like that linebacker group. And the secondary, Byron Jones really good. Other than that, really no standouts, but a bunch of guys that can help the team and play. Some young guys that can really step up. So that's very good. They could be great. I'm only putting in mind, I only have, kind of looking through these teams right now. For great, I'm thinking I'm going to have 4 teams under great. 4 NFL teams for great. I don't think I'm going to have any more. And there's another team I'm thinking about, but I'm thinking about putting them at pretty much the top of very good. But we're moving on to the Bengals. We're going in order here. The Bengals may have had the worst defense last year, but a lot of young talent. You look at Sam Hubbard, look at Jesse Bates. They had Jermaine Pratt in there now. I think Brown will step up for them, the rookie last year out of Virginia. I think he'll make an impact. They do have Geno Atkins. Still young. That's tough. They if it's based off last year, which it's not, they would be under bad. I'm not going to put them under bad. I'm trying to think below average. How much do those rookies step up? There's some pretty good. There's still some holes though. I think I'm going to put them under below average, but I think a step up here. The Chiefs, I think they got a little better with their secondary, and I think their linebackers step up just a little bit more, but they're not going to get as much pressure as they did last year. So they're still under bad for me, which they were last year. The Eagles, I think, are a good example of above average. They need to, a guy like Derek Barnett needs to stay healthy. Derek Barnett with Graham, I think that can make some good pressure right there. Interior D-line's pretty good. The linebacker unit's not so good, to be honest. In the secondary, they got a bunch of guys that can play. I don't think there's any standout guys, but they need to stay healthy as well. So I guess it's about staying healthy, but I still think they're above average because they got some playmakers here and there. It's that linebacker unit I worry about. The Rams, they have the best defensive player in football, but no more Sue. They have some young guys that could step up. I don't know if the corner group, on paper is good with Peters and Talib, and they were inconsistent last year, though. We know Talib was out for a little bit, but they were inconsistent. I don't know. Maybe they could be a group that actually takes a little bit of a step down. They drafted. I just like them as average. I think some big time players like Aaron Donald would kind of pick up the slack. Not too much pressure from the outside linebacker position. They're 3-4. So that's where I got them. The Patriots, during the year, for the most part, they look like maybe an average to below average defense, and they really started picking it up. And the playoffs, they were very good to great even. In the Super Bowl, they were great. And no more Trey Flowers, but they get Michael Bennett. Corner, some young corners, some young linebackers step up. I like the Patriots as above average. That's where I like them, Stephon Gilmore, one of the better corners in football. They just don't have really anything, outstanding in there anymore. They really, I don't know what went in the playoffs, but I'm kind of considering the regular season for the upcoming season and the playoffs and the Super Bowl, and I'm sure they'll start to pick it up at the right time again like they did last year. But as a whole, I put them above average. The Lions got Trey Flowers, and they also have Romeo Okwara, who really stepped up last year. Deshaun Hand is a rookie. It's a pretty good defense. But man, this is a tough one. It's either above average or very good. They didn't just if I put them under very good, it's kind of a bold prediction. It's kind of a prediction, because they haven't really shown they're going to be a very good defense. You kind of can have an idea. They do need The secondary, I think, can struggle at times. I really like Darius Slay, but I think that secondary could struggle. I think the pass rush steps up. The linebacker unit could step up a little bit. So they're borderline there, but I put them above average because I think you can throw on them. Just keep the ball away from Darius Slay. Guys like Tracy Walker will step up. He had a good rookie year, but it's a borderline team. I like what they're doing. The Cardinals, taking in consideration that Patrick Peterson's going to miss some games. They do have Chandler Jones, who's one of the best at his positions, but they added some guys too, but I still see some struggles here. If Patrick Peterson being out, it gives them a hit. They take a hit because of that and put them under bad, but could be below average. The Redskins. Redskins are a tough one. What do we got for the Redskins? So we got Ryan Kerrigan, who's a Pro Bowl type pass rusher. They had Montez Sweat, who I think can make an immediate impact, big time impact. Also have Ryan Anderson. Guys like that can step up. The D-line, Jonathan Allen, Jerron Payne, Tim Settle. So they got some guys I like. The secondary, I'm a little worried about. I wouldn't say I'm worried about it, but the secondary could be better. I know they add Landon Collins. I'm not a huge Landon Collins fan, but he is a good football player. Norman maybe won't be the same, but still another good, solid corner. They had some young guys. Fabian Moreau could step up. This is tough. This is an average or an above average defense. I'm going to go above average. I think, combining that pass rush from the outside linebacker position with that D-line, Jonathan Allen in the pass rush he brings and Jerron Payne which could be an elite run-stopping ability. I think you combine all that, and the secondary could be a little better. I think that makes for an above-average defense, but it's close to being an average defense. The Bills. Bills are a real tough one, too, because they were pretty good last year. They're pretty darn good for defense. Man, the Bills are a tough one. I'm thinking right now. I'm doing this live with you guys. The Bills, they add Ed Oliver into that too, which was a pretty darn good defense last year, but was it? It's tough. We need Star Lotulelei to step up there. Harrison Phillips could step up in his second year. Jerry Hughes, I like Jerry Hughes, but do they have a pass rusher? Do they have a partner around, opposite of him? Do they have a guy step up like that? Tremaine Edmonds in the next year. The Bills are so hard to do here. I'm right here, just to let you guys know. I said I had 4 teams under great. This was not one of the 4, and I said I had a 5th team that, when I was scanning through the teams that was going to be real close, and that was the Bills. I'm just not ready to put them at great yet, honestly. Tremaine Edmonds, I love Tremaine Edmonds. He could be the future middle linebacker of the NFL. But they are kind of lacking, another corner with Tre'Davious White. I think they got a bunch of guys that can play, but I'm going to put them under very good. I think they're definitely the best of this very good group, and they could be great. They're a very good defense. The Colts are a surprising one last year. On paper, they look like they're going to be one of the worst. They really stepped up, and they add stuff to that defense too. I'm going to put them. I still think, looking at the secondary, you could throw on them, but they got a long list of guys that can play. I'm going to put them up above average. They got enough playmakers in there. They got Darius Leonard. They got a long list of pass rushers. They add Justin Houston. Put them above average. They're well coached over there too. The Saints played, I would say, looking at them on paper, they don't really have any holes, but there's really no standout guys. Cameron Jordan's really good. He's been really good. I don't really view him. I don't think I'm going to view him as an elite player this year. He was. I don't think he'll be elite. I think Marcus Davenport can be better than him already. Sheldon Rankins is really good if he stays healthy. He's dominant in there if he stays healthy. And then you look, Lattimore's a playmaker. He's not the best corner, though. You look, Marcus Williams will step up. Linebacker unit. It's not the best linebacker unit, but no holes, guys that can play. I'm actually going to I think they were probably above average last year because, the random turnovers they got, the big-time turnovers they got. Usually teams don't repeat that stuff, so it could take a little bit of a hit. So I think an average defense. But again, no holes, so that's a good thing. The Seahawks, there's some holes, but they're very well coached. I like what they do with their secondary. They got they don't have the best secondary. On paper, you don't see any guys that are just standout guys, but they use so many. You see 5 secondary guys out there at times, different looks. So young guys from the last couple of years. So I like that. No more Frank Clark. on paper, this looks like a below average defense, but they're going to go out there and they're going to play better than how they look. So I'm going to put them at the average defense. To the Bears. Like I mentioned, the Bears were an elite defense last year. I didn't have an elite category and for this year because I don't think there's an elite defense this year. There can be, but I don't really view any of these elite. And the Bears were very elite last year, but why won't they be elite this year? Because teams that, get that many turnovers, they don't repeat. History shows it. They never repeat, really. That's one. I do think Khalil Mack will be better, actually. It looked like he was almost like out of shape at times, out of gas towards the end of games. He'll fix that. He'll be ridiculous this year. He can be the defensive MVP. So that, could help them back to elite. Then they lose Vic Fangio, and they were very healthy last year. But it's pretty obvious I still view them as maybe the best defense and a great defense. Just hard to see any team elite, but they very well can be. There's just some things that, you could say they maybe won't be as good as last year, but still could be the best defense in football. So I like them under great. Finally, the first team under great. We got 3 more teams I'm going to put under there, I believe. The Broncos take Vic Fangio from the Bears, and they got guys like Von Miller, Bradley Chubb, some pretty solid guys in the defensive line. In the secondary, good thing Chris Harris is back. Secondary could be bad. I don't know if the secondary is as good as the Bears was last year, kind of comparing them because they're very similar and they have the same coach, the Bears coach from last year. The D-line, they don't have Akeem Hicks, but they're a pretty solid D-line. There's not as much talent. Honestly, the 2 pass rushers are better, though. Khalil Mack's the best out of the group, but combining them, Khalil Mack and Bradley Chubb, scary good. I'm going to put the Broncos under very good. And it wouldn't be a long shot at all. I would not be surprised if they ended the year under great, but it's just not quite as good as the Bears was last year. The Bears defense looked last year. Looking at the middle linebackers were so key for the Bears too, though. Roquan and Danny Trevathan played out of their minds, and the Broncos really aren't at that middle line. They're not as good at the middle linebacker spot. They don't have Akeem Hicks in the secondary. They don't have a guy like Eddie Jackson or really even Kyle Fuller. So, but I still think they're a very, very good defense and could surprise. They can lead the NFL in sacks. The Raiders are going to give up some points. They're going to give up some yards. And, looking at them at paper and for those reasons, I almost, it probably should put them under bad, but I'm actually putting them under below average because I think they have kind of a wild card thing, kind of a wait and see. I think they'll run with a lot of defensive backs, and it's kind of in my head. I haven't heard anything about this. Maybe people that really, really, following everything about training camp with the Raiders, maybe will know actually a little more at this point. But I have a feeling, and maybe I'm onto something here, that they'll run with a lot of secondaries. I was almost thinking, at safety, they got Joyner, and that's obvious. He'll start at free safety. I think Carl Joseph could stay at strong safety. He started to pick it up at the end of the year. And at corners, I like the young duo, like Garyon Conley and like Trayvon Mullen. They have a couple other guys that can step in too. So you're saying, what about the first-round pick, Jonathan Abram? I think they use Abram, kind of as that box guy. He can even play as an outside linebacker guy, kind of moving around, playing man in the slot. Manning up in the slot, blitzing. That's what he loves to do. He loves to blitz. He's very good at it. So I think especially playing in that division, with the Chiefs and the Chargers, and the Broncos wanting to throw the ball a lot too, I think that would be smart of the Raiders, and I think that can be a defense doesn't look good on paper, but they can really throw some teams off, and Abram can be that wild card player. So I think that makes them a little better than they are on paper. So can't wait to see if that's what they do. I know a lot of teams are doing that already, but I think the Raiders do it. I want to see them do it like that's their thing, do it more than anybody. The Chargers I am putting as my second great defense. I really like this Chargers defense. I love the pass rush, maybe the best pass rush in football, as long as Bosa is healthy, and especially with Melvin Ingram. Melvin Ingram doesn't get enough credit for what he does. Seen him play as a defensive end, as an outside linebacker. Even seen him line up as almost as a defensive tackle spot and almost as a middle linebacker spot at times too. The guy's everywhere. The guy's super instinctive. Him with Bosa, and now they finally have a pass rush defensive tackle in Jerry Tillery to add on and to help those other guys too. They add a couple linebackers. They get Davis and they add Tranquil in the draft, who I like. They're kind of missing that one more defensive tackle. Like I mentioned, they got Tillery. They're kind of missing some linebackers. They got those guys. And their secondary is one of the best in football. There's no holes on this defense. And there's big-time playmakers. Derwin James, Casey Hayward, Desmond King, and like I mentioned, the pass rushers too. So love this defense. Could be the best pass rush defense It's a great defense and could be the best this year. The Dolphins. The Dolphins, you look at their linebackers and you look at their secondary, and it looks like a great defense when you're looking at that, really. Young talent, no holes in the linebacker secondary, but then I know they had Christian Wilkins, so that helps the interior D-line out a little bit, but the pass rush is brutal. I think Charles Harris can step up this year, but, pass rush is so key. Defense line is so key. And they, even though they had a really good linebacker and secondary unit, they gave up some yards because it felt like that secondary had to cover for too long. Nobody can cover that long. I'm putting them under average because they need to – pressure is the most important thing. They need to up that. The Packers were probably, over the last few years, probably below average to bad. They really helped themselves in free agency. I just don't know if I see it going up big time. I think they may have the secondary of the future, the corners of the future, I should say, with maybe the secondary of the future too, but with Jair Alexander and Josh Jackson and King too. But I really like Alexander and Josh Jackson. That is the corner duo of the future in the NFL. I love that duo. It's really good. So I'm going to put them average. The Niners they're really thin at safety. For corner, I like their starters. I like Witherspoon. I like Sherman. But, after that, they don't have much else. And they just have been a team that it's just hard to trust to stay healthy. I like Fred Warner's potential. Bosa's got to stay healthy. Kind of already hurt. I know it's a minor injury. They had D Ford there. Pretty good defensive line overall. This is tough. Niners are a really tough one. Above average to average, I'm kind of thinking, around there. Because of the pass rush, I was about to put them under average. Because of the pass rush, bump up to above average. The reason I almost want to put them at average is the safety group's kind of a mess, and the corner depth, and they just can't stay healthy. But right now for the most part, they're healthy, and they got a really good pass rush. We expect to be a really good pass rush. Bosa needs to stay healthy. D Ford, any adjustments, we'll see what he can do. So I'll put them there. The Buccaneers, I don't like the Buccaneers defense. I love Devin White. I love Vita Vea in this new defense. This is where he's gonna thrive. People already starting to label him that they picked him too high. It's wrong. But right now they're too young. The pass rush, they're really lacking pass rush. The safety group, they're lacking that. The corners, I like the young corners they got. I really like their future. There's Sean Bunting. I like Carlton Davis. I think those two corners, that's another one. Like I talk about the Packers, that's another one to look out for. They drafted a couple more too that could step up. But they really the lack of pass rush with Pierre Paul, possibly not be able to play. Vita Vea will get some pressure. Devin White, I like Devin White, but not enough pass rush. The secondary will struggle. Sean Bunting was one of my guys of the draft, though. I'm really excited to watch him. But the team's heading in the right direction. They need to find more pass rushers, but the team's heading in the right direction. The Vikings, so we got the third team I'm putting under great. Mike Zimmer is just a defensive genius. There's no holes on this defense to me. I think this is one of the better, talk about the chart, I think this is one of the better secondaries in football. Harrison Smith. If you watch Harrison Smith, if you watch the Vikings on a weekly basis, you know how important Harrison Smith is to this defense and why he's the best safety in football. He does so much. It's unreal, and he's probably the most instinctive safety, one of the most instinctive safeties I've ever seen. And then you got your linebacker unit, which there could have been a hole if they would have lost Barr, but they have Barr and Kendricks. They play a lot of 5 defensive backs with 2 linebackers, and their defensive line, Danielle Hunter being as young as he is, and stepping up. The way he stepped up, becoming an elite 4-3 defensive end, and then you got Everson Griffin back. Hopefully fully. I was gonna say healthy, but it wasn't a health concern. It was just an off the field concern that we're still not 100% clear on. And then Linval Joseph. Yeah, they got a pretty complete defense with the good coaching staff on defense. So they're definitely, they've been up here last few years, and there's a reason for it. They started off a little slow last year. They were trying some different things, though. I think, they were using like linebackers to cover a little more. It was a little strange, but I still view them as a great defense. And the Ravens I put under great. So we see the 4. The Ravens did lose some guys. They did add Earl Thomas, but he needs to stay healthy. But it's okay if they lost some guys. Even though they lost C.J. Mosley, they got enough guys to step up. Kenny Young will step up. The pass rushers will step up too, and they add Shane Ray to the rotation. They're talking about possibly getting Gerald McCoy, but we're not considering that here. They're so well coached. They lose Dean Pease and they get Martindale, and he's great. A 3-4 team with a lot of exotic, blitz packages. You don't see that a lot. And look at Tony Jefferson, so key in that defense. He doesn't get enough credit. What he does, he's involved in a lot of those blitz packages, and he can cover downfield. Obviously, as a safety too. There's a long list of corners. Really like that young corner group. Marlon Humphrey was outstanding last year for him. So I like this Ravens defense. So it's unique, and that's what puts them up here. Very well coached on defense. The Falcons, last year you could consider they were below average to bad, but I'm actually a little bit of a bold prediction. I'm going to put them above average. They have the talent. A big reason they were down there last year is because they were very hurt, very injured, and they, a little lack of experience. But some young guys going to step up this year, and they have the talent on paper. So there's no reason, as long as they're healthy, they should not be up here. So I think Takk McKinley can really go off this year. And then you're looking at guys like Isaiah Oliver can step up. I like the secondary. Secondary is pretty balanced. There's no, weekend on this defense. Linebacker unit's good, as long as it's healthy. Panthers is a tough one. They give up some yards. They got some holes. I don't want to put them under bad, though. I put them below average. I think Brian Burns can make an impact. I think switching to a 3-4 actually helps their interior defensive linemen possibly step up. Maybe the linebacker unit. And Kuechly's still going to play at a high level. So secondary's really young. It's going to struggle, but the young guys will step up. Dante Jackson, second year. And then we got the Steelers. The Steelers, weird team because they give up some yards through the air. They give up a lot of yards through the air. The secondary is pretty weak. Some young guys can step up. Linebacker unit got better with Devin Bush. And obviously TJ Watt's getting better. The defensive line I like a lot. Tuitt needs to stay healthy. I really like Tuitt. It's tough. I would say average, but Devin Bush gives them a bump up. The secondary is what makes me want to put them down. Some guys will step up. I put them above average because the pass rush and pass rush from both the D-line and the outside linebacker spot, and then adding Devin Bush and what he can do bumps them up. The Jets are tough. Another tough one. Quinn Williams, I think, can be a top defensive tackle right away. Leonard Williams, I don't know if I'm buying the rumors that he might be traded, but Leonard Williams with Quinn Williams is very good. Linebacker unit, what they're lacking is that pass rush. If they had even a decent pass rush, they would be probably around here. Don't like their corners, but I like their safeties. It's kind of back and forth, but we know pass rush is super important, so I'm going to put them under average, but I do like Jamal Adams. I like Quinn Williams. They brought in C.J. Mosley, but the lack in the pass rush is what kind of bumps them down from above average to average. And the Browns, they gave up some yards last year. They add Sheldon Richardson, Denzel Ward another year. They had Greedy Williams. I really liked T.J. Carey's game last year. I really liked it. Thought he was underrated. And then the pass rush is going to be much better. Myles Garrett's should be outstanding this year. I'm going to put them above average. They went probably from below average to average around here to above average. So that's what I got. Not too many in the below average category. These teams were, they're kind of borderline down here. If I had to order them, should I order them? Why not? Let's order them. Bold prediction, I think the Chargers have the best defense this year. Then we'll go Bears, Vikings, Ravens. And then for very good is just clearly the Bills. I almost want to put the Bills there. It's just the Bills, so it's kind of tough. Then we'll go Bills. We'll go Cowboys, Jags. Broncos, Titans. And then above average, we got... This is tough. I'll put the Lions up top here. We'll go Eagles, we'll go Patriots, we'll go Colts. And, Redskins were kind of a wild card one. A couple of these teams were kind of wild card ones. We're going to go... The Falcons should be good. No excuses. Just stay healthy. I guess that is an excuse. But we'll go Falcons, Steelers, Redskins, Browns, Niners. And then under average, we will go with the Saints. We'll go with the Jets. Then Texans, Rams, Packers, Dolphins, Seahawks. And then below average, we'll go... All these teams are so even. The Raiders, I almost wanted to put on bad, but I think they have like a wild card factor there, but we'll put them. I think we'll go Bengals, Panthers, Raiders, and then for bad, we will go. Oh man, this is a tough one. This is really tough. We're gonna go. I think the Cardinals could. Patrick Peterson will come back at some point. So Cardinals, Chiefs. It's between the Giants and the Bucks. Bucks, Giants. It's tough. The main point of this video was for just the tiers, really. But yeah, that's gonna do it. That's gonna do it for this one. We can do some more of these if you guys have any suggestions. We got other prediction videos on the channel and plenty more to come. Like I said, we're gonna try to get the other Goat House guys together this weekend. They're gonna start working on their predictions. It's kind of a process to put it all together. So, I mean, you probably saw my predictions for the upcoming season, division placings, all stuff like that. They're going to do that. So, you're going to get to see 3 more different other people's predictions. So, that's what's unique about the Goat House. And we have daily videos. So, please subscribe if you haven't quite yet. But that's going to do it for this one. Thanks, everyone, for the support. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.